The day has not yet dawned, but the world is already moving slowly. A milky mist lies on the mirrored surface of the Yangtze, tinged with opaque blue tones that only exist in the hour before sunrise. The mist dances lazily, gradually disappearing as if time itself were yawning as it wakes up. In the center of this silent vastness, a cherry-colored boat floats, small, made of light wood, worn and polished by the touch of years, with a bamboo awning arched like a living spine. A family lives there, simple, silent, 4 people, father, mother, 2 children, and a small tabby cat who sleeps curled up near the bow, with his chin resting on his paws. Inside the cabin, the world is even more contained. An iron pot rests on the small clay stove. With a soft crack, the mother lights the flame. There are no matches, just the old-fashioned way. Sparks with flint and steel. The sound of friction, the sudden smell of burning smoke, and soon the steam begins to rise, as a sign that the day, still timid, is on its way. The water murmurs. She never really sleeps, though our father stretches with a discreet crack of bones. Silently, he slides his feet off the tatami, avoiding making any noise. The wood creaks softly under his weight. He puts on a worn cotton coat, rolls up his pants to his shins, and steps onto the deck still damp with the night dew. With a wet cloth, he carefully cleans the floor of the boat, not out of vanity, but out of respect. Respect for the river, for the house, for the silent gods who live in the waters. In the distance, a solitary heron takes flight. Its wings move the air slowly, like brush strokes floating on the canvas of the sky. Inside, the mother finishes preparing the tea. Longjing leaves, picked the previous summer, lie inside the kettle, and the water begins to boil. The subtle aroma of green tea fills the stuffy air of the cabin. Notes of fresh grass, slight bitterness, and an earthy touch. She pours the liquid into ceramic bowls. Each bowl has a unique crack. Each bowl has a story. The father returns and sits on the tatami mat. They exchange glances, but no words. There is nothing to say yet. They both hold the hot bowls with both hands, blowing off the steam before taking the first sip. The tea soothes the stomach and the spirit. The children are still asleep. The youngest, a 7-year-old boy, is wrapped in a plum-patterned blanket. The oldest, a 10-year-old girl, is lying on her side, her black hair dripping like ink onto the straw pillow. They both breathe deeply, in time with the rhythm of the river. The father smiles slightly. He knows that soon, the sun will wake them, but for now, he lets them dream. Outside, the dawn light begins to change. It is not a rapid change, as in modern cities where time flies. It is slow, gradual. The sky changes from gray to violet, from violet to pearly blue, and the water, always reflecting what is above, accompanies this metamorphosis. The family makes a living from this, transporting fruit, especially cherries, between riverside villages. But today, there is no rush. There is no cargo, just the boat, the family, and the river. As the day dawns, the sounds of the world begin to emerge. First, the soft crackling of bamboo leaves being touched by the wind. Then, the distant song of a nightingale, the rhythmic sound of water lapping against the hull. and then a soft purr. The cat wakes up. It stretches its front paws, yawns with its mouth wide open, and walks slowly across the deck, its tail raised. For him, this is just another day, but he also honors it with his feline calm. The girl wakes up shortly after. She opens her eyes slowly. She looks up at the curved ceiling of the cabin, made of woven bamboo strips. She hears the river before she even gets up. She stretches. She sits down with her legs crossed. She yawns. And then, silently, she picks up a small wooden comb and begins to untangle her hair. Her mother watches her tenderly. She hands her a bowl of warm tea, and the girl thanks her with a subtle nod. Her father has already left again. He is at the back of the boat, checking the oars, the patches on the sail, the knots in the ropes that tie the boat to the small improvised river couplings. Even without moving, a boat needs to be ready to go. The boy wakes up last, still half asleep. He rubs his eyes with the back of his hands. His blanket is half fallen, and his hair sticks out in all directions. He sits up and yawns exaggeratedly. His sister laughs softly. His father calls to him softly, and he answers with a murmur. Everyone is now standing. The day has officially begun, and at the same time, nothing seems urgent. The nature of the river is not one of haste, but of continuity. Every gesture of the morning is a ritual. The tea, the face bath with water from the bucket, the tidying of the tatami mats, the cleaning of the bowls, everything follows an ancient rhythm. Time on this boat is not measured by clocks, but by light, sound, and smell. And so ends the first hour of the day on board the cherry boat, a slow awakening where each breath seems to echo the serene course of the Yangtze itself. There are no great events. There are no conflicts, just life, pure, silent, and present. The day has already dawned gently, and the golden light of the morning sun touches the deck with warm fingers. In the sky, a few clouds circulate, like rice strokes, on the light blue that slowly reveals itself. On the cherry-colored boat, the family begins to move with a little more rhythm, but without ever losing the calm rhythm that governs their lives. The tea has already been drunk. The face has already been washed. The eyes, now wide open, contemplate the river in its infinite extension. The father leans over the deck, arranging the bamboo cover that protects part of the cargo, even when empty. It is adjusted by ropes and simple but efficient knots. The boat is modest, but perfectly functional, designed to glide smoothly between villages and river ports. He runs his hand along the side of the hull, feeling the texture of the wood that his grandfather helped to carve. Every groove, every nail has a story. He knows it as if it were an extension of his own body. The small cotton sail, now folded, lies like a sleeping tongue. It will be raised later, when the wind is more determined. The mother calls the girl with a discreet gesture. It is time to wash the few dishes from the morning. They sit side by side on the edge of the boat. The girl holds the wooden basin while her mother carefully hands over the bowls and utensils. They work in silence, dipping each piece into the river water, rubbing it with a woven cloth, and gently removing it. Beside them, the boy watches for a moment, and then joins them with a piece of vegetable soap. It is a handmade soap made with ash and fat, with an earthy aroma and a hint of herbs. They laugh softly as the foam slips through their fingers. The cat, curious, tries to touch the water with his paw, but is startled by the movement and retreats with a sharp meow. All around, the river comes alive. Small fish jump instinctively, creating circles on the surface. Yellow butterflies fly among the reeds on the bank. A pair of ducks slowly glide alongside the boat, leaving a trail that disappears soon after. The mother gazes at a distant point on the opposite bank. There, peasants carry baskets on their shoulders, balanced by bamboo poles. They do not shout. They do not run. The morning demands respect. Meanwhile, the father works on the oars. He removes one of them, places it on his knees, and with a small curved blade, begins to trim the cracked edges. The work is calm, done with precision. From time to time, he dips the oar in water, observes its curvature, and then dries it with a linen cloth. The wood is still good, but everything needs care, like people. Beside it, a small iron tool chest sits open. Each item has its right place: hammer, saw, awl, stylus, pieces of thick thread, wax. On the top shelf of the chest, there is a small polished mirror, not for vanity, but for observing the sun and clouds. It helps predict rain. The mother swears that the mirror hears the sky. After the maintenance, the main activity of the morning comes. The mother takes out a white linen cloth, carefully folded, and spreads it on a flat surface on the deck. This is the beginning of a new fruit net, used to suspend the cherries during the journeys, allowing them to breathe without crushing them. She sits cross-legged. The girl follows her. They both begin to weave. The technique is simple, but requires patience. With waxed cotton threads, they create small knots, like an aerial tapestry. Each knot is tightened with 2 fingers, a light tug, and the loop is made. Hundreds of them, side by side, like a constellation of white dots floating against the backdrop of the morning. The girl asks softly, "Mother, what will we do when the cherries are gone?" The mother smiles, without looking up. "The fruits always come back, daughter, even after the cold." The girl thinks for a moment, then she goes back to work. The sound of the knot forming is almost therapeutic. Click, pull, loop, silence. This moment is sacred, not because it is solemn, but because it is simple. On that modest deck, time folds in on itself. Routine is not repetition, it is ritual. It is memory being sewn together in small gestures. The river watches everything. It has seen hundreds of boats, thousands of families, and countless mornings like this one. But for this family, this is the only morning that exists. In the distance, another boat approaches, slowly, silently. It is a fishing sampan. An elderly man stands, a conical straw hat covering his eyes. He waves. The father responds with a respectful gesture. They exchange no words, just smiles. The old man drops a floating basket into the water. It glides toward the cherry-colored boat. Inside, 3 fresh fish, small, silvery, alive, a gift. The father ties a tea bag to the end of a stick and sends it back across the water. Silence, ancestral cordiality. Friendship without words. The sun is now high, but still soft. The light reflects on the small waves of the river, creating golden mosaics beneath the boat. The mother finishes the hammock. The girl wipes her hands on a damp cloth. The boy spreads out the tarp to dry. The breeze begins to pick up. The father raises the sail, still in no hurry, not to set off immediately, but because the wind, like the weather, is beginning to change. The first activity of the day was not marked by haste, nor by production. It was marked by presence. Each gesture had intention. Each task had soul. On the Yangtze cherry tree boat, 19th century, doing and living are the same thing, and the river carries this wisdom forward. Drop by drop, the sail rises with a soft crackle. The wind, like an old acquaintance, blows slowly, pushing the cherry-colored boat forward. It is late morning. The tasks of the dawn have been completed. Now the rhythm changes slightly. The boat glides with more intention, as if following an invitation whispered from the shore. In the distance, above the thin mist, the soft outlines of a village begin to emerge. The first indications are not buildings. They are sounds, clay bells hanging from eaves, spacing hammering coming from a workshop, a loose chant being sung by an old man in his yard. Then come the smells: burning coal mixed with the unmistakable scent of sesame oil, a faint aroma of dried fish, and further in the background, the almost sweet smell of the warm mud of the dock. When the village finally reveals itself in its entirety, it seems small, a ribbon of wooden houses with dark roofs, all facing the river like spectators at an old play. The father skillfully lowers the sail. The boy runs to the oars, helping vigorously, but without urgency. The boat turns, with the bow pointing toward the small stone pier. An old rope is thrown. It lands with a dry thud on the pier. A young man, perhaps a local helper, catches it and skillfully ties it off. The boat settles like a tired animal, nestling against the shore. The father and mother exchange a silent glance. Arriving is always a gesture of reverence. The mother puts on her woven straw shoes. She arranges the girl's hair with a comb made of dark wood. The boy already holds an empty basket in his hands. It will soon return full. As they step onto the pier, the heat of the stones welcomes them. It is the kind of heat that seems to rise through the soles of the feet, slowly, like tea pouring itself from within. The breeze blows in from the countryside, carrying the sound of laughter and wheelbarrow wheels. The village is alive, but unhurried. It breathes with the same rhythm as the river. They've been here before. The rice merchant still has his little red awning. The herb lady still keeps her little bags and bamboo boxes, lined up by color and scent. The blacksmith continues to hammer slowly, with a patience that makes it seem as if each piece will be the last and the most important. The boy runs ahead, but stops when he sees a group of chickens crossing the dirt road. He watches them as if they were soldiers in formation. The mother approaches the communal well. There, she wets a cloth, wipes her face, and offers some water to the children. The village market is not a noisy place. It is more like a temple of exchange. The predominant sound is that of low voices chattering about quantities and conditions. The clink of copper coins is rare. Many here still prefer to barter. The mother exchanges a basket of dried cherries for fresh ginger. In another corner, the father offers 3 salted fish for a handful of dark tea. The girl observes everything with attentive eyes. She touches the lotus roots, feels the weight of a giant turnip, smells a bundle of bitter leaves. Everything is a learning experience. In the background, the sound of a solitary flute escapes from a half-open window. The father decides to stop for a moment in the tea courtyard. It is a simple building made of wood and cloth, with low benches and tables that have been smoothed by generations of elbows. The tea is served in cups without handles. It is hot, but not boiling. The aroma is bitter, with notes of wet earth and dried plums. As you drink, your body warms from the center outward. In the courtyard, there is no rush. Men and women say little. Many just watch the river, visible between the branches of a mulberry tree. Time seems to slow down in this space, as if the minutes were sitting at the table, savoring each sip. An elderly man approaches. He greets the father with a respectful nod. They remember each other, other stops, other years. The conversation does not concern business or the weather. They talk about the water. This year, the Yangtze is cleaner, says the old man. Maybe the gods are less angry. The father smiles, agrees, and says nothing more. Sometimes the truth is revealed more in silences than in sentences. With their baskets full and their faces slightly flushed by the sun, the family returns to the boat. They walk in silence. The sound of their footsteps mixes with the creaking of the old wood and the snapping of the ropes. The girl carries a small embroidered cloth that she received from the herb woman. The boy holds a piece of crystallized sugar, a rare sweet. When they board again, the father checks the knots. The mother stores the herbs in ceramic boxes. Everything has its place. Everything returns to balance. The village is behind us, but it left something behind on the boat. The taste of tea, the scent of leaves, the warmth of footsteps. The sail will be raised again, and the boat will continue on its way. But that morning on dry land, silent, intimate, and full of small gestures, will be remembered not as a stopping point, but as part of the river itself. The morning departs unhurriedly. The sun, already high, finds its position in the sky, shedding a warm, golden light over the calm waters of the Yangtze. The shadows of the mountains become less defined, faded by the mist that slowly evaporates. The cherry-colored boat floats again, not in a hurry, but with the dignity of someone who knows the way well. It moves away from the village, now behind a bend in the river, like a dream that dissolves before it is fully remembered. It is the time when no one talks much, the time when even children understand the value of silence. The boy lies on the deck of the boat, with his arms crossed under his head. He watches a solitary, almost motionless cloud in the high white sky. Sometimes his eyes close for a moment, then slowly open, as if he were daydreaming. The girl is with her mother, helping to separate fresh leaves from dry ones, sitting side by side with their legs crossed. They don't talk. They just listen to the sound of their fingers brushing the tissue paper, of the leaves, the creaking of the baskets, the brief breath of the wind. The father is at the bow, looking at the horizon without looking for anything. It is a pause between two obligations, a pause of someone who knows that time on a boat is measured more by the lights in the sky than by the hands of a clock. With the village behind, the river becomes wider and quieter. The banks are now covered in dense vegetation. Willows hang their branches almost touching the water, as if they want to listen to its secrets. Birds fly low, sometimes in pairs, their reflections dancing on the surface. There is a turtle, motionless on a smooth rock, and for a moment everything seems still. The boat glides like a whisper between worlds. Water and sky merge into a liquid mirror where time seems to have fallen asleep. After lunch, a simple rice, served with fermented beans and pieces of turnip. The family retires. The father spreads a reed mat in the shade of the mainsail. There, he lies with one arm over his eyes, his body relaxed like a log carried by the current. The mother stores the remains of the meal in ceramic pots, wrapped in a damp cloth. Then she sits down and begins to sew calmly, the stitches small and constant, like drops of fine rain. The children doze side by side, covered by a light scarf. The boy holds a colorful string. The girl, a small wooden amulet. The boat continues forward, but no one else seems to notice. The afternoon wears on, hot and humid. The sun slips a little further to the west, causing the shadows of the masts to stretch in elongated shapes across the deck of the boat. The heat makes everything slow down. Even the birds fall silent. Even the insects seem to move reluctantly, as if flying through a veil of cotton. Sometimes a dragonfly lands on the mast, its wings fluttering like crystal, or a fallen leaf floats beside the boat, slowly turning. It is a time made for contemplation. Nothing is expected of it. It simply is. Amidst the peace, a soft crack is heard. The rope holding one of the water jugs comes loose. With a muffled sound, the jug rolls and falls onto the wooden deck. It does not break, but it splashes cool water over the father's feet. He slowly gets up. Without rushing, he picks up the jar, checks its contents, and smiles. There is no irritation. The afternoon is too generous to allow for annoyances. The mother, without saying a word, spreads out a cloth and dries the floor. The boy watches, still drowsy. Then he closes his eyes again, as if that little incident had been part of a dream. The father observes the surface of the river carefully. He notices small whirlpools, the direction of the wind, the behavior of the birds. These are signs that only someone who lives on a boat recognizes. He knows that a narrower stretch is coming. He knows that the waters there are faster, but also shallower. He adjusts the sail subtly. The gesture is so gentle that the others don't even notice. The boat changes direction slightly, avoiding sandbanks that are invisible to the inexperienced eye. Sailing there is not an act of conquest. It is a dialogue. The mother picks up a paper fan, unfolded delicately. She moves it slowly, creating a gentle breeze in front of her face. The sound of the fan cutting through the air is hypnotic, a constant back and forth, like breathing. She offers the fan to her daughter, who tries to imitate her. The girl's gesture is faster, more abrupt. The mother smiles and shows the movement. Again, circular, continuous, like the river. The girl learns. The boy, curious, tries too, but he soon gives up and goes back to lying down, and the sound of the fan continues. It comes and goes. Like the boat, like time, as the afternoon progresses, the heat begins to subside. A cooler breeze blows from the east, carrying the scent of flowers growing hidden in the riverside forest. The children stretch. The boy searches for his small fishing rod. The girl picks up a brush and an inkwell. The father opens a roll of paper with lines already drawn. A painting in progress. Cherry, trees, mountains, a curved bridge. The silence is replaced by murmurs, small gestures, a restrained laugh. But the spirit of the afternoon remains calm, as if everything were happening under a veil of translucent silk. The sun begins to set. The light is now golden and soft, spilling over the waters like a last breath of the day. The cherry boat moves slowly forward. There is no hurry to get anywhere. The afternoon has been filled with almost nothing, and yet with everything that matters. The slowness, the breeze, the sound of wood, the warmth of the shade. Time dissolved in the river, and while the waters reflect the sky in orange and blue, the family silently prepares for nightfall. The cherry blossom boat moves slowly along the waters of the Yangtze, while the evening fades into gold and gray. The light changes slowly. With each passing minute, the sun sinks a little lower on the horizon, and the landscape becomes silhouetted. The bow of the boat points west, where the sky, for a brief moment, is painted in warm colors: peach blossom pink, burnt orange, antique gold. The waters reflect this world that is slowly fading away, and everything becomes a reflection. The family has already finished what they had to do. They have gathered the leaves, sorted the pots, repaired the small tiers in the upper canvas. Now it is time to rest, but a different kind of rest from the afternoon. It is a rest with the smell of incense and the sound of cicadas. The mother lights a small oil lamp and places it next to the utensils. The glass of the lamp has small hand-engraved designs of plum trees. When the flame is lit, the shadows of these plum trees dance on the walls of the boat, as if they were living trees in a nocturnal forest. The father kneels beside the largest candle and looks at the fabric. He runs his fingers over a small seam redone by his wife a few days earlier, and satisfied, gives a slight nod. He then sits cross-legged, facing the river, and takes a deep breath. The smell of wet wood, oil from the lamp, and cooked rice from dinner mixes with the humidity of the approaching night. The children have already taken their baths. The boy has changed from his light afternoon clothes to a warmer cotton tunic with embroidered small waves on the hem. The girl wears a dark blue headband in her hair, tied by her mother with a simple knot. The two sit close to their father, their eyes attentive to the evening ritual. The food is simple, but prepared with care. A thin rice porridge, flavored with ginger, a few pickled leaves, placed on small porcelain plates with fish designs, a little dried meat, cut into strips, which the father shares with his hands. There is not much talk during the meal. Everyone chews slowly, savoring the warmth that spreads inside, contrasting with the cooler air that now blows over the river. As the light fades, the lamps are lit one by one, small points of yellow light that do not dispel the darkness, but create a refuge within it. When dinner is over, there is a moment of pause. The father cleans the utensils in a bucket of warm water. The mother dries the dishes with a cloth that also dries the days. The children, now lying on thin blankets, listen to their father's low voice telling a story. It is a legend about a fish that turned into a dragon, about a temple hidden among bamboo groves, about a flower that only blooms once a century. The father's voice is like the river itself, constant, deep, almost hypnotic. The girl fights against sleep, but her eyes blink slowly. The boy is already asleep, with one hand holding his sister's sash. The boat, in turn, moves slowly but surely. There is no need to rush. The night does not demand destinations. It only asks that we stay. Later, the mother stays awake for a while. She watches the sleeping faces of her children. She adjusts the covers, places another lamp near the father. She checks the direction of the wind. Then she sits down near the edge of the boat. The river is now a dark mirror with small sparkles. On its surface, the reflection of the moon and a solitary star. She closes her eyes and listens. The sound of the boat is of breathing wood. The sound of the river is of the world passing by. The sound of the night is of memory. She takes a deep breath, and in that moment, the world seems to contain only this boat, this river, and this moment suspended in time. Even before the light breaks through the veil of night, the cherry tree boat already feels the change. The silence is no longer the same. There is a lighter tone to it, as if the darkness were preparing to go away. The first to wake up is the mother. She hears the soft sound of drops hitting the upper awning. It is not rain. It is dew dripping from the leaves of the trees on the bank, humidity accumulated from the early morning that descends slowly, as if it does not want to disturb anyone. She gets up slowly, stepping on the wood with the lightness of someone who knows each plank. The mist covers the river like an opaque cloak. Everything seems still. The mountains in the distance are faded shadows, and the banks have disappeared. The world is now made only of boat and mist. The mother prepares the water for tea. First, she wipes the dark ceramic teapot, decorated with cloud reliefs, with a damp cloth. Then she puts the leaves inside. They are leaves that she herself picked the week before, rolled by hand, and dried in the sun. As the water boils, she watches the steam escape from the kettle and blend in with the mist from the river. The smoke and the mist merge. It is difficult to distinguish one from the other. Soon, the father wakes up. He takes a deep breath, as if pulling all the floating moisture into his chest. His eyes are still sleepy, but he smiles. There is no rush. He joins his wife, sitting on a folded cloth. They share their first tea of the day in silence, watching the river. Little by little, the sounds return. A solitary bird sings from afar. A frog croaks. The ropes holding the baskets creak softly. The boat is alive. The children wake up, stretching under the blankets. The girl rubs her eyes, and her furrowed brow shows that the dream has not yet disappeared. The boy sits up, curious about the white world that surrounds them. Are we inside? A cloud? He asks. The mother smiles and nods. There is no need for explanations. The day began like this, shrouded in mystery. The father opens one of the small chests and takes out the cleaning tools, a bamboo fiber cloth, a small broom, a bottle of oil. He starts with the hull, gently running the cloth over the wood to remove the dew. With each movement, the boat shines brighter, as if it were waking up too. The mother combs her daughter's hair with a light wooden comb. She braids it into a simple braid and ties it with a red thread. The boy helps his father, trying to imitate his gestures carefully. Breakfast is light. Leftover rice, warmed with tea, some fresh tofu, and pickles. Everything is served in bowls that bear the marks of time. Small chips, discreet cracks, but they are beautiful in their imperfection. By the time the meal is over, the mist is beginning to dissipate. First, it reveals the horizon. Then, the outlines of trees appear, branches hanging over the water. The last thing to appear is the shore. The father stands up and checks the sail. It is damp, but firm. He stretches it slowly, letting the gentle wind carefully swell it. The boat begins to move. There is no conversation, only glances. The sunlight filters through the remaining mist like golden fingers touching the river. The day has begun, but everything still carries the whisper of a dream. The sun has already risen when the cherry-colored boat meets another traveler on the river. The mist has almost completely dissipated, revealing not only the nearby shore, but also the silhouette of a second, larger boat coming in the opposite direction, gliding elegantly over the calm surface. This new boat is decorated with colorful pennants and has an awning ornamented with gold thread. On its deck are vases of flowers and cages with singing birds. The hull is painted a dark red with gold details, revealing that it is not just a workboat, but perhaps belongs to a family that also transports small goods or acts as river traders. The father notices the approach and alerts with a low call. The mother quickly adjusts her hair, wiping her hands on her apron. The children line up near the mast, curious, their eyes full of expectation and brightness. The boats slow down and come closer until the faces of the other family can be clearly seen. There is an elderly woman in embroidered clothes, two young men who maneuver the oars with precision, and a child who smiles and waves. The adults exchange respectful greetings, a nod, a restrained smile, words exchanged lightly. It is a brief encounter, but full of meaning. Amid the vastness of the river, crossing paths with another human group is more than a coincidence. It is a reunion, even between strangers. The two boats come together for a moment. The mother offers a small package of tea leaves wrapped in thin paper. From the other boat, the elderly woman returns the favor with a small jar of sweet and sour preserves. There is no negotiation, just an exchange, a gesture of mutual respect, care, and trust between sailors. The children exchange glances, smiles, and brief words. What's the name of your boat? Did you see any turtles yesterday? Your little bird sings beautifully. Before time takes its toll, soon the current demands a decision. The two boats wave goodbye again. The sail of the cherry-colored boat fills with a sudden gust, and the father holds the rope tightly. The other boat continues on its course, gradually shrinking in the mirror of the river. The children look back for a few more minutes. The boy asks if they will ever meet again. The mother answers that maybe they will, maybe not, but even so, this moment will live with them forever. Later, as they return to their daily tasks, the father comments, "We are all leaves on the same river. Sometimes we float together. Then each one follows its own course." The mother smiles silently, and the boat moves on, its occupants now carrying more than before. The taste of the preserve, the image of other faces, and the light weight of a newborn memory. At the end of the afternoon, a different stillness takes over the air. The sunlight begins to change color, taking on a grayish tone that blends with the usual gold. The waters of the Yangtze, once a shining mirror, darken to a deep tone, reflecting clouds that slowly form in the sky. The breeze, previously warm, now blows more steadily, bringing with it the scent of rain that has not yet arrived. It is a dense silence, not of absence, but of expectation, as if the river itself were waiting, suspended, for the next move of nature. The father watches the sky for long minutes, in silence. Then he begins to adjust the sail with sure and patient gestures. The mother collects loose objects from the deck and reinforces the window ties with strips of thick fabric. The children sense the change and, without being called, help to store baskets and cover the bird cages. Inside the boat, the lamp is lit even before dark. The flickering yellow light casts soft shadows on the wooden walls, as if the boat were gradually becoming a cocoon. The first drops arrive slowly, gently touching the ceiling. There is no fuss, no rush, just a new rhythm. The drops make their presence felt like a hypnotic song. The adults sit together near the entrance to the cabin, from where they can see the river and the sky. The children, lying on embroidered cushions, listen. They don't talk much. The rain drives their thoughts inward. A little later, the wind picks up and the rain thickens. There is no thunder nearby, only dull noises on the horizon, like distant drumming. The boat rocks slightly, but it is safe. The family remains together. The father, with his hands crossed on his knees, watches the waves come and go serenely. The mother distributes small portions of rice cakes wrapped in lotus leaves. The children chew slowly, their eyes glued to the windows where the water runs in continuous lines. As the storm continues, the atmosphere inside the boat becomes more intimate. There is silence, but a welcoming silence. The boy asks if the river gets angry sometimes. His father answers, "It doesn't get angry. It just changes its mood, like us." The answer echoes softly, and no one says anything else for a long time. Outside, the world dissolves into water and wind. Inside, time seems to stand still. After a time that no one can measure, the rain stops. The sound of the drops softens until it stops completely. The sky is still overcast, but clearer. The river seems exhausted, flowing more slowly, as if it had just woken up. The father goes out on deck, inspects the condition of the sail, and smiles. Nothing has been damaged. Everything remains firm. The mother lights incense near the bow, a gesture of gratitude for the passage of the water. The children go back to playing. The birds start to sing again. First one, then another, as if testing the silence. The morning sky is a damp paleness, tinged with soft shades of blue and milky yellow. The mist left over from the previous storm slowly dissolves as the sun timidly reappears, tinging the Yangtze River with a golden light filtered through thin clouds. The current is now calm, almost lazy, carrying the cherry tree boat lightly as if the river itself were guiding it. Along the way, signs of human life appear, not abruptly, but like a painting revealed in brushstrokes. First, there are the trees arranged in rows along the banks, apricot trees, willows, and bamboo gently swaying in the wind. Then come the thatched roofs and ceramic tiles that peek through the canopy, followed by the scattered children, a barking dog, a rooster, the creaking of a wheelbarrow. A village creeps up on the eastern bank. The father, standing on the deck, looks out over the shore with a slight smile on his face. The mother gathers her hair with an embroidered scarf and begins to prepare a bag with the products they will take to land. The children, excited, position themselves next to the boat, trying to guess what they will find. "Shall we stop here for a while?" asks the girl. "Just for today, to get supplies and news," answers the mother in a gentle tone. The boat approaches a small dock made of dark wood, already a little worn by time. There are other boats there, some belonging to fishermen, others with low awnings and goods covered with cloth. A woman smiles from the shore and waves, recognizing the family. They have been here before, in other seasons. The father throws the rope around a mooring post, and with a firm push, the boat fits along the dock. The boards creak underfoot as the family disembarks one by one. Their shoes hit the ground with a soft click, wood against wood, a subtle but definitive sound. They are on land. The village is small but lively. Dark wooden houses with red lanterns hanging from the eaves. Dirt roads, stone wells beside fruit trees. People move with a leisurely pace, as if the days were long and time had a different rhythm. The village's small market is a narrow street lined with makeshift stalls. The air is filled with smells: fresh, fried garlic, ripe fruit, dried herbs, freshly fired pottery. The mother stops at a stand where an old woman sells fabric ribbons and floral hairdos. The children run to look at a basket full of live fish whose scales shine like liquid silver. Meanwhile, the father negotiates with an elderly man who sells rice and flour in fabric bags. Their conversations are calm, unhurried. Prices are quoted politely, almost like a ritual. "The river is generous this year," the vendor comments. "Yes," the father replies. "He took us here carefully." After they have done their shopping, the family walks to the shade of a large lotus tree in the center of the village. There, they sit on a straw mat where they eat a simple meal: rice cakes bought at the market, fresh fruit, and morning tea. The children come slowly, watching the residents pass by with their actions. Nearby, a group of old men play xiangxi, Chinese chess, on a wooden board supported by bricks. Each move is accompanied by low murmurs and narrowed gazes. A woman hangs clothes on a clothesline between two trees. A group of little girls play with colored stones, making patterns on the dirt. None of this seems extraordinary, but it is all experienced with a kind of silent presence, as if each gesture carries a fragment of eternity. The mother, holding her daughter's hand, decides to visit the village's small temple, located on a nearby hill. The steps are made of stone and covered in moss, and the path is lined with unlit lanterns. The temple itself is modest, with a curved roof, bronze bells hanging from the ends, and a statue of the smiling Buddha flanked by bowls of fruit and incense. The mother lights a stick of incense and closes her eyes for a moment. The daughter watches silently, absorbing the ritual. There are no grandiose requests, just a gesture of gratitude for another safe day, for another stretch of the river conquered. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows over the village, the family returns to the dock. Their bags and baskets are now full. Rice, fruit, vegetables, fabrics, and a new cage for the boy's bird. Before boarding, the father thanks the woman who had greeted them with the initial wave. She smiles and offers a small package, seeds from flowers that grow well along the riverbank. The mother accepts with a slight nod. The children wave goodbye. The cherry tree boat slowly pulls away from the shore, now more heavily laden, but also fuller in other ways. As the village recedes behind them, the father comments, "There's something special about these small places where time moves slowly." The mother replies, "It's because people listen to the days, not just count them." The children play with the seeds and share their impressions. The smiling fishmonger, the boy playing with stones, the peaceful temple. The boat continues, gliding again in silence, as if the river itself heard these memories and kept them with it. Night has fallen quietly, like a silken veil resting on the shoulders of the world. The sun had disappeared behind the hills long before anyone noticed its total absence. And now the Yangtze River flows in a deep, silent blue, dotted with moonlight. Inside the cherry blossom boat, the atmosphere is calm. The lanterns have been lit, small flames contained in paper globes, casting golden circles that dance on the walls and reflect in rippling glows on the dark surface of the river. The mother pours chrysanthemum tea into small porcelain cups. The steam rises slowly, scenting the air with soft floral notes. Sitting around the low table on the deck, the family drinks in silence. There is no need for words now. Everything has been said with gestures, with exchanged glances, with the simple fact of being together. The father watches the course of the river, now almost invisible, beyond what the lantern reveals. The banks have disappeared, swallowed by darkness and thin mist. Only the water remains, constant, a living, deep presence. The river never sleeps, he says softly, as if speaking to himself. The mother smiles. The children lie side by side, covered with thin but warm blankets. The boy holds the bird's cage, now covered with a dark cloth, so the bird can rest. The girl keeps the seeds they received in the village inside a small box made of woven bamboo. Before going to sleep, as he does every night during the trip, the father tells one last story. His voice is low, as if he were speaking in a dream. He tells them about the spirits of the river, ancient, almost forgotten figures who protect the boats and accompany the sailors with moon-like eyes and hands of mist. They say that if the boat is quiet enough, you can hear them walking on the water. The daughter closes her eyes and smiles. The boy, sleepy, murmurs, "I think I heard one just now." The father covers them carefully, as if sealing a sacred moment. Outside, The boat continues its slow journey, as if gliding over a black mirror. The sky is clear, revealing stars that seem to have blinked from a higher world. The moon, in its crescent, observes everything with its silvery, soft, maternal light. The deck breathes. The wood creaks from time to time like an ancient yawn. The mast sways gently, and the awning flutters in the light night wind. The sail is furled. Now it is the river that guides. The mother remains awake for a moment longer, watching the sleeping children. She takes her daughter's seed box, runs her fingers over the woven bamboo, and whispers, "May flowers grow where time passes." The father sits down next to her, and together they look at the nothingness that surrounds them, and which paradoxically is full of everything. There is something eternal there, a feeling that the river does not only carry boats, it carries stories, days, feelings, and returns silence in return. Finally, the lanterns are extinguished one by one. The boat plunges into soft, absolute darkness. Only the sound of the water remains, and the stars. The cherry-colored boat continues its course, invisible and serene, taking with it not only a family, but a memory, that of a life embroidered on the water, among villages, markets, flowers, and stories. At the foot of the bed, far from the shore, close to the heart of time,